Hi YouTubers, I'm Janet and I'm an addict. Welcome to the reading of Chapter 1 in the NA Basic Text. Chapter 1, Who is an Addict? Those of us who have found the program of Narcotics Anonymous do not have to think twice about the question, who is an addict? We know. The following is our experience. As addicts, we are people who use any mind-altering, mood-changing substance causing a problem in an area of our life. Addiction is a disease that involves more than the use of drugs. Some of us believe that our disease was present long before we first used. Most of us did not consider ourselves addicts before coming to Narcotics Anonymous. The information available to us came from misinformed people. As long as we could stop using for a while, we thought we were all right. We looked at the stopping and not the using. As our addiction progressed, we thought of stopping less and less. Only in desperation did we ask ourselves, could it be the drugs? We did not choose to become addicts. We suffer from a disease that expresses itself in ways that are antisocial and that makes detection, diagnosis, and treatment difficult. Our disease isolated us from people except when we were getting, using, and finding ways and means to get more. Hostile, resentful, self-centered, and self-seeking, we cut ourselves off from the outside world. Anything not completely familiar became alien and dangerous. Our world shrank and our isolation became our life. We used in order to survive. It was the only life that we knew. Some of us misused and abused drugs and still did not consider ourselves addicts. Through all of this, we kept telling ourselves, I can handle it. Our misconceptions about the nature of addiction included visions of violence, street crimes, dirty needles, and jail. When our addiction was treated as a crime of moral deficiency, we became rebellious and were driven deeper into isolation. Some of the highs felt great, but eventually things that we had to do to continue using reflected desperation. We were caught in the grips of our disease. We were forced to survive any way we could. We manipulated people and tried to control everything around us. We lied, stole, cheated, and sold ourselves. We had to have drugs regardless of the cost. Failure and fear began to invade our lives. One aspect of our addiction was our inability to deal with life on life's terms. We tried drugs and combinations of drugs to cope with a seemingly hostile world. We dreamed of finding magic formulas that would solve our ultimate problem, ourselves. The fact that we could not use any mind-altering or mood-changing substance, including marijuana and alcohol, successfully. Drugs ceased to make us feel good. At times we were defensive about our addiction and justified our right to use, especially when we had legal prescriptions. We were proud of the sometimes illegal and often bizarre behavior that typified our using. We forgot about the times when we had sat alone and were consumed by fear and self-pity. We fell into a pattern of selective thinking. We only remembered the good drug experiences. We justified and rationalized the things that we did to keep from being sick or going crazy. We ignored the times when life seemed to be a nightmare. We avoided the reality of our addiction. Higher mental and emotional functions, such as conscience and the ability to love, were sharply affected by our use of drugs. Living skills were reduced to animal level. Our spirit was broken. The capacity to feel human was lost. This seems extreme, but many of us have been in this state of mind. We were constantly searching for the answer, that person, place, or thing that would make everything all right. We lacked the ability to cope with daily living. As our addiction progressed, many of us found ourselves in and out of institutions. These experiences indicated that there was something wrong with our lives. We wanted an easy way out. Some of us thought of suicide. Our attempts were usually feeble and only helped to contribute to our feelings of worthlessness. We were trapped in the illusion of what if only, and just one more time. When we did seek help, we were looking for the absence of pain. We had regained good physical health many times only to lose it by using again. Our track record shows that it is impossible for us to use successfully. No matter how well We may appear to be in control. Using drugs always brings us to our knees. Like other incurable diseases, addiction can be arrested. We agree that there is nothing shameful about being an addict, provided we accept our dilemma honestly and take positive action. We are willing to admit without reservation that we are allergic to drugs. Common sense tells us that it would be insane to go back to the source of our allergy. Our experience indicates medicine cannot cure our illness. Although physical and mental tolerance play a role, many drugs require no extended period of use to trigger an allergic reaction. Our reaction to drugs is what makes us addicts, not how much we use. Many of us did not think that we had a problem with drugs until the drugs ran out. Even when others told us we had a problem, we were convinced we were right and the world was wrong. We used this belief to justify our self-destructive behavior. We developed a point of view that enabled us to pursue our addiction without concern for our own well-being or the well-being of others. We began to feel that the drugs were killing us long before we would ever admit it to anyone else. We noticed that if we tried to stop using, we couldn't. We suspected that we had lost control over our drugs and had no power to stop. Certain things follow as we continued to use. We became accustomed to a state of mind that is common to addicts. We forgot what it was like before we started using. We forgot our social graces. We acquired strange habits and mannerisms. We forgot how to work. We forgot how to play. We forgot how to express ourselves and how to show concern for others. We forgot how to feel. While using, we lived in another world. We experienced only periodic jolts of reality or self-awareness. It seemed that we were at least two people instead of one, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We ran around and tried to get our lives together before our next run. Sometimes we could do this very well, but later it was less important and more impossible. In the end, Dr. Jekyll died and Mr. Hyde took over. Each of us has a few things we never did. We cannot let these things become excuses to use again. Some of us feel lonely because of differences between us and other members. This feeling makes it difficult to give up old connections and old habits. We all have different tolerances for pain. Some addicts needed to go to greater extremes than others. Some of us found that we had enough when we realized that we were getting high too often and it was affecting our daily lives. At first, we were using in a manner that seemed to be social or at least controllable. We had little indication of the disaster that the future held for us. At some point, our using became uncontrollable and antisocial. This began when things were going well and when we are in situations that allowed us to use frequently. This was usually the end of the good times. We may have tried to moderate, substitute, or even stop using, but we went from a state of drug success and well-being to complete spiritual, mental, and emotional bankruptcy. This rate of decline varies from addict to addict. Whether it occurs in years or days, it is all downhill. Those of us who don't die from the disease will go on to prison, mental institution, or complete demoralization as the disease progresses. Due to the time constrictions of YouTube, I'm going to stop here and start another video that will be entitled Chapter 1, Part 2. Join me for the continuance of Chapter 1 in just a few minutes. And I love you all. Thank you, viewers.